Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining me. My name is Andy from Global E-Commerce Experts, and we're here to successfully expand e-commerce sellers into Europe. And this e-commerce expander series podcast is really about talking to people in the industry about what they do, how they got into e-commerce, a bit about their story. And today we've got an exciting guest for you today. So I'm really, really excited to be talking about that. And I can't wait to get today's founder on, because I know he's got some golden nuggets that are going to be really, really key. So today, Andrew Morgan's going to be joining me. He created Marknology. I'm sure I said that right, but it took me about 4 goes earlier. And he saw huge demand in e-commerce. I wanted to really help grow and organize and strategize e-commerce sellers, but has been in e-commerce for many, many years. So, Andrew, are you there?
Yes, sir. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me, and welcome to all our guests that are tuning in today.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining me. So, Andrew, where are you based?
Okay, I'm based in Kansas City, which is right in the middle of the U.S. But like I was sharing just a little bit earlier, I grew up abroad. I grew up in Africa. Honestly, lived in some parts of Russia, Belarus. So when we think about, international expander or being an e-commerce expander, or international expansion, I definitely have an understanding of a bigger world and really see a lot of opportunity for that commerce. So here in the Midwest in KCMO, 23andMe, I don't know if you know of that like DNA tester 23andMe, but it says I'm 99.7% European mutt. So,
Whoa.
I think I'm originally from England per the DNA test. But who's to say?
Fans, I love that. I've not heard of that before. I'm going to have to try that out. I love the idea of that.
It's super cool. It tells you what neighborhoods, even where your like gene pool kind of like probably came from in England and different stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's that called?
23andMe. 23andMe. I mean, I'm mutt. I'm Irish. I'm English, Irish, Welsh, but it's still kind of cool to watch it, and it shows your whole tree and everything, so it's cool to be chatting with you today.
I love that. I love the sound of that. Well, look, that's something for me straight away. Perfect. So for those that are listening for the first time, or our regular listeners will know that what we're going to do, we're going to talk back to Andrew about a bit about his past, then we're going to go on to what he's currently doing, and then we're going to be looking into the future of what he thinks e-commerce is going to look like, perhaps leading into out of Q4 and into 2022. So, I think that's going to be really, really exciting. So, Andrew, let's start right at the beginning. You said you traveled a lot, which is amazing. You must have been educated in lots of places around the world then. Is that fair?
Yeah, but educated in a different kind of way. I think in a survival kind of way, street smarts kind of way, just, like savvy entrepreneur, hustler.
Yep.
Growing up in Africa, you see people work super hard. You also come back to the US feeling extremely blessed and having perspective and gratitude and things like that I think are secret weapons for success in entrepreneurship. So a white male with some understanding of the privilege we have, I think that's important. But grew up, honestly from a poor, even though we were traveling overseas, we're a missionary family, grew up from a poor family, ended up back here in the Midwest, went to school, college in Hawaii. That was horrible. Obviously kidding.
I mean, that would be devastating.
It was devastating. We were talking about the weather earlier. It was amazing there. But honestly went to school for computer science. So I got a degree from the university in computer science, networking and security. And with an emphasis, just different world than where we're at right now. But there wasn't a lot of options in the past. Like when you're going to school for computer science, there was a couple tracks. You chose programming, you chose networking, you chose something like that. So got out of school, hated networking. I got a corporate job, was making more money than I ever had, and I just hated it. It was like I was good at it, got a couple of raises, and I was just, it was just boring. It was sitting and waiting on networks to break. It was every once in a while something exciting, but for the most part, for me at the time, it was 12-hour shifts. So it was 10 hours of kind of sitting on your butt and 2 hours of working. And e-commerce is the exact opposite of that, so I left that and jumped into e-commerce.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think virtually everyone I speak to, and we speak to all e-commerce sellers, or have been involved in e-commerce in one form or another. And definitely the one thing that everyone has in common is no one likes sitting still. Everyone wants to be moving at 3 million miles per hour, and if they're not, they get itchy feet. And I think that sums that up beautifully. That great job, but essentially I was bored.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yeah, it was that. It was like it felt like my soul was dying. And I used to be a musician in college. Like for 5 years, I toured the U.S. playing music actually, and
Wow. What did you play?
I played bass, guitar,
Nice. Yep.
but it was metal music. It was heavier music. But we were touring. We were doing the thing. It was kind of my first. I guess I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur meant, but I was, trying to be on my own and was writing music, learning branding, learning biz dev, like how to book a show, how to sell stuff after, how to, all those kinds of things. Really before I even knew what I was learning, but I was doing that kind of while I was getting my degree. And I went from that to networking, and it was just sitting in a room and waiting on stuff to break. And so e-commerce is, what else can I be doing? And that's why I really love the Amazon channel. I mean, there's so many other channels that are amazing too. But when I came across Amazon, it was like, this is a channel that you can be proactive. As much as you want to work or optimize, it will respond to you. And for someone that's like, I love to work. Like I've always said, I'm like a blue collar guy in a white collar world. I think e-commerce kind of, we're dealing with corporate, but it's got a lot of guys that just know how to work really hard, and that's who pioneered it. And so it's always been 10 years in. I'm 10 years in now, and I still love it just as much as ever. With international expansion being like, one of the big challenges now that I think is got my attention.
Yeah. So what was you've got out the networking. What was the first inroads into e-commerce? What did that look like?
So I left that job and actually moved to Florida. So I was in KC. I moved to Florida. I took a chance at a startup. That startup, I had one employee, an investor, one employee, and then me. And we were putting car parts online. So we were trailer lights, trailer hitches, tonneau covers. Like, we were contacting all these manufacturers, similar to what sellers do today. But there weren't any car parts online. So we were like winning by default, getting parts online. I'd get a sale in 30 minutes or something. And it was like super intoxicating. I was just like, put these products up on eBay or put them on Amazon, wake up the next day and see how many orders we had. And I got the bug. I just, it was adding trailer lights, like the truck ball at the end, the hitch, and creating combos and creating sets, and like how to get, our big advantage with that company was, our investor, our like founder of the company, was super savvy with negotiating logistics contracts. Okay. So our pricing on the parts wasn't the best, but our shipping for oversized items like trailer hitches was the best. And he just put FedEx against UPS, and pretty soon we were beating competitors that have been in space a long time, because we figured out how to save $20 on shipping and then bring that into the price or whatever. And so it was, I felt like I was just learning, and like, it was a lot of fun for me. So that's really how I transitioned. I took a leap. I had a bunch of like networking jobs saying work here, work here, work here. And I just wanted to do something different.
And then that basically caught the bug.
Yes, got the bug. I got the bug. From there, I went into court. I became a corporate e-commerce manager for a 300 person company or so for about 2 years. And then while I was there, I actually started freelancing. I grew sales again by 1 million. I'm trying to be short-winded here. It's not working very well. But
I like hearing the story. So don't worry about other people listening. This is for me. Don't worry about them.
Okay, I got it. So as an e-commerce manager, I again was like promoted, or I got this job because they had seen what I did at the car company, and I was like, this is cool. Okay, I'm working within a corporate company. That's where I really learned where to take Marknology. I was seeing them deal with map pricing and resellers, and the sales guys in the meetings getting upset because we're like, getting rid of resellers that might have been one of their biggest customer. And I saw, the buyers that were buying product in China were ever coming back and not giving us good content, not giving us good images, not a good handover to the e-commerce department. And so I saw the accountants start, because I was growing sales dramatically. We grew by 1.5 million at US Toy that year, and I was the only one kind of pushing that lever. So the company was paying attention for sure. They weren't that large of a company. And I saw all these conversations happening behind the scenes at US Toy, just even a medium-sized company. At the same time, I was freelancing on Upwork. It was actually called Elance, and it got bought by Upwork. But I got top 10 in the world on Elance in the marketing category, and that's really what accelerated my freelancing, for sure. I started working with Adidas, as they say in Europe, and Suiza, and I was just a kid. Like, honestly, I didn't even know what I was doing yet when it came to Amazon, but I was someone that was focused on it and passionate about it and was working a day job doing it. So people were like, I was doing it for pennies, really, but was just learning on the go and getting reviews on Elance and Upwork. And before long, I feel like I was the only US based person doing Amazon work at that time. And someone might correct me, I'm sure, but I didn't feel like there was people doing service for others. It was like, if there was sellers at that time, they were doing it for themselves. Like, they weren't, providing services. So, long story short, I started building some clients off Upwork, where, like, on a retainer model, like where I was just working on their brands. And I took the leap to start Marknology to solve all those problems I kind of mentioned that I was noticing. At first it was just anyone that would pay attention, private label, wholesaler, reseller, whoever would hire me for whatever project. But over time, it started evolving, and I wanted to do a better job. I wanted better tools. I wanted, absolute control. So I started moving up the chain, so to speak, in the Amazon world, which is, you're working with a distributor, you get the access the distributor has. You work with the brand or the manufacturer themselves, and you're able to change photos and copy and, run ads and get video ads and create new products. And so it was, as I moved up the line as well to manufacturers, where we're at now, we work with manufacturers and brand, there was more margin on the table. So, you're working with a distributor where a 7% margin is good. You start working with a manufacturer that has way better margins. Imagine the advertising you can do, imagine the budgets. And so as the space we're in, e-commerce has evolved and matured, as the market has matured, where brands are investing in video and they care about it, and they're actually spending money to hire people to bring them in-house for Amazon, or setting aside budgets, because those things happen a year at a time in those bigger companies. Here's a budget for Amazon for next year, for example. As those companies have started maturing and joining the Amazon marketplace, what Marknology offers and who we serve it's been a lot easier. Instead of convincing people to be on Amazon now, it's just work with Marknology versus convincing them to be there at all.
That's the easy part. Like that bit's almost easy now. 10 years ago, that was difficult.
It really was. It honestly was. It was, no one understood it. There wasn't enough knowledge for them to go out there and find and research it, or hear at their favorite conference, or it was just my word against theirs. A young guy that's obsessed with something, and older business owners, honestly, that knew, probably knew in some part of their mind they needed to change, but in other ways was like, I'm gonna wait.
To be fair, I mean, here in the UK, we've still got, a lot of there's a lot of brands that aren't on Amazon and the likes because they've chosen not to be. It's not, for an e-commerce seller, it just makes sense, right? If that's what you've done, that's what you've always done, there's not even a conversation to be had. I think we can all probably work with that. But if you are a traditional brand that's got brick and mortar, actually getting that product to into or onto Amazon or other marketplaces are available, is still a bit of a struggle in some places. There's still a bit of education. So, I don't know what we can't do this, we can't. So there's still a bit of education still on some of that. So I get what you're saying there. That's totally right. So
you're exactly right. And that's where I've just spent my time. I've spent my time knowing the hesitations on the other side. I've spent my time educating myself on those issues that those manufacturers and brands really have. It's an expensive move for them. We've think about it like this, like a company here, and the same goes in the UK or anywhere really. But you've got a company that's always sold in brick and mortar. They're used to receiving POs, getting paid immediately for product, shipping that
Yep.
product out, not worrying about kitting it, prepping it, labeling
Yep.
it, not worried about two warehouses where they have inventory at FBA and inventory at their warehouse. Not ever having to deal with direct consumer feedback, not having to deal with 2-week accounting, not having to deal with maybe marketing and advertising
Yep.
spend. So it's a completely different business model that I think is necessary for survival from today into the future. And I've been screaming that for years. But to me, I'm actually in the trust game, because I'm in the trust game. There's so many, marketing has a bad rap, and there's a lot of sharks out here in the space, like there is with anything that's new and people don't understand it.
Yep.
But I'm in the trust game of putting out content, getting on podcasts like this, getting on 10 calls with the brand before they pull the trigger, and making them feel like our team or whoever we work with, whether it's us or a partner of ours that we're suggesting, is capable of helping them go through all of that.
Yeah.
And you got to make them feel like, oh my God, this is overwhelming, but it's necessary, and so I was just telling a story of a company we had. It took us 3 years to go change warehouse management systems and really get all their back end in place and start updating copy and getting rid of resellers and yada yada yada. But we hit probably 2 million this year with that brand. This is a new channel for them, and it's going to be a lifeline into the future for them. So we went from 0 to 2 million, and it took us 3 years. I don't think that's bad for changing a 100-plus-year-old company. And I think, most companies just need to set the expectations that it is something that they can ease into, but they need to start moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think if they don't, they're going to come a cropper in the next, I was going to say next 2 to 4 years, really. I can't see it going much further than that for a lot of these brands. So what I wanted to touch on there is before we, Marknology, where did the name come from?
Okay, so I was at US Toy Company, and a lot of people call me Mark. So thanks for getting it right, Andy. I was an Andy growing up too. My grandma wanted a grandson to call Andy. So thanks, Andy. Marknology is actually the mixture of 2 words, marketing and technology. And it started as kind of just a joke. I think even my boss at the time might have said it the first time. But it was I was e-commerce manager. I was hired by the technology team, but I worked with the marketing team all the time at US Toy. And so it was like, I'm a technology team member, but I work with the marketing team. So it's like I felt in between. As the e-commerce manager, I felt in between. And so I would schedule lunches because our team was small or whatever, and we'd call it the Marknology lunch. Just the Marknology team and the technology team together, So and also it was like, I'm a bootstrapped guy. I come from, very humble means. And I was going through a bad breakup whenever I was at US Toy and getting my feet under me, and kind of was just like, what are some ways I can make extra money? That's how I found Elance and Upwork. So I was like just trying to save money, and I was looking at domains and names and things like that, and a lot of things that had technology or whatever at the time were very expensive domains. So I thought, hey, the greats like Nike and Uber and Bird and whoever just make up these names. Why can't we just make up words if we want? So
totally,
here I am.
I love that. I think that's such an authentic story as well. I think that's really, really cool. So obviously that's come, you've grown that brand bit by bit as you were doing the work on Upwork and things like that. At what point, and this is a great one for entrepreneurs that currently got a job who then want to leave, you're in that mixture, when am I going to leave, when am I going to take that leap of faith? When did you decide that actually now's the time to leave and to start doing this on my own?
Well, I had a number. So I'm not from an agency background. I'm not from any of that. So I really didn't have the model already in mind. I truly didn't know what I was getting into. I'll be honest with you.
Most people don't, by the way. If anyone's listening, no one really knows what they're getting into.
I was just a hard worker. I just have always been a hard worker. If I was a warehouse guy, I've been a painter, a warehouse worker. I've been a security guard at a casino. I've been a band guy. I've done it all. And those were just jobs to get me through school. But I was always, trying to be the best that I could be. And I just found e-commerce and wanted to be the best at it. And the only way I found that I could be the best at e-commerce and Amazon was to get out from someone else so I could do what I wanted. Because all the companies I had been at, and there wasn't a lot of them as far as like e-commerce companies, but there weren't any at the time, right? So I literally I just was obsessed with this space, and I had people holding me back. So I the first few years were super hard. I was too early. The market wasn't ready. People weren't paying for what we do. Thrasio and the aggregators and all these companies coming in, the competition coming in, I love it because I'm like, cool, let's just bring up the quality of this industry that we've created. Bring up the value of our services. And I've spent 10 years obsessing about this. What's any different than any other business consultant or a doctor? I'm a business doctor for your business, in a lot of ways. And so it's like, I want to be able to charge, to do quality work. And so I said all that just to say, not that I'm upset with where the space is, but I was just too early, 7 years ago. The last 3 or 4 is really where we've grown quite a bit as the market has matured. But it was getting a few clients. I had a number in mind that I needed to get to for monthly clients. It was a meager number, and but I think once I got like 5 clients or 6 clients or so, I took the leap. And I'm very loyal, so I probably stayed like, I don't know, almost a year longer than I should have at US Toy. I just felt like they needed me. I felt like that company, we were growing sales, doing a whole bunch of stuff. I felt like they needed me. I really respected my team at the time, and I had a hard time leaving. I was definitely the guy that built it on the side, while I was doing the day job. But and then I just took the leap. It was, the thing I was thinking to the entrepreneurs listening, what I was doing in my head was like, Andrew, like no matter how low you hit bottom, you always pick yourself back up every single time. And why this time are you not trusting yourself and going in on yourself? And this is the one time you're like, you're holding back, you're waiting. So I just kind of gave myself this like line in the sand. It was like February, I think 2014. And I said, that's the day. And so it came, and I quit. And I actually asked them if they wanted to be my first client. They were not. They did not. They were not happy about that. But I went for it. I went for it, and I shot for it. And it was the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. So give me an overview. What if you as a client or someone looking in, what does Marknology solve? What are the key things? And we've obviously touched on some of that already, but to really sort of fine tune that, so people listening in their head, they're like, right, got it.
Done. So we're a full service Amazon agency, and what that means for anyone listening is, honestly, from warehousing to photography, to SEO, to PPC. We're an Amazon advertising agency partner. We do it all. And I truly believe that you need all aspects of selling on Amazon managed and like being focused on and fine-tuned in order to be successful. Yes. So I built a company to do the same thing. I was somebody that I wanted to build a company that if I was you being the brand owner, if I was you and you're paying me to help you run your company or advise you on this company, what are all the things I would do? I want to do all of those. And so I just started building out a team. We've got a creative department, we've got brand protection, we've got case management, we've got international expansion. We're a small team. I think we're 25 now, but we've got about 40 brands we manage on a month-to-month basis. So we're running the ship for about 40 brands when it comes to Amazon and e-commerce. We've had a lot of brands with us a long time because we're growing together. But we help brands, like more specifically, you say, well, what are all of those things? It could be a brand going from 1P to 3P that needs some help. It could be a brand that's just trying to improve their content, but they sell through distributors, and we're just improving their content through SEO, brand protection, photography, videos, really creating that. If you're going from social media or a website or even a brick and mortar, and then you come to Amazon, your experience is the same. We want it to be as good, if not better, on Amazon than it is everywhere else. And so there's not a drop off. on your brand and your touching. So, we help brands understand that. We help them understand profitability. We help them expand internationally. We help them understand, not just, sometimes it's helping brands like figure it out. Other times it's, there's been they're digital first anyway, or they're a great company online. They just want extra hands that they actually trust. And so that's where our team comes in, as extra hands on Amazon or e-commerce.
It's interesting in there, Andrew, that everyone is at a different stage of their e-commerce journey, aren't they?
Yeah.
So what we find is that no one client is exactly the same. All right, it's all e-commerce. Yeah, we get that. But everyone's at a different level or a different stage or a different part of the journey, dependent on like 3 million different factors.
Yep.
So everyone wants and needs something slightly different. They might have the photography dialed in, but they haven't got the SEO dialed in. They might have, the photography might be a problem, but they might have video sorted. They might never have sold on Amazon before. There's so many different facets to having running an Amazon store. There's so many parts to it, and people can't get away from the fact that, and I love what you said a moment ago, is that, in order to do that really freaking successfully, they either need to bring in people to do all those different bits, or they need to outsource those bits, because it's impossible to be able to do all of them with one person. It's just not feasible.
Because I'm an amazing worker. I'm like the guy that gets, an 8-hour day done in 2 if I can. Give me enough time to figure it out. And if I can't do it all, there's no way you can either. That's how I believe it. So it's like we've positioned ourselves to be part of their team, not something they're outsourcing, right? So a big part of it is the assessment and getting a chance to talk to them and audit the account and see where things are and understand where they are and where they need help with, and then trying to fill those gaps. And the best thing I can say to them is, this isn't a job for your janitor. This isn't a job for your social media person that kind of looks at Amazon. Like, this is something that I've obsessed about for 10 straight years, and I'm still learning every single day. No one can go to school for this. It's something that you just have to learn. And, even if you have your own internal person, the best way to not lose money or make mistakes or miss opportunities is to hire an agency or a consultant or someone alongside them to help and assist and get them up to speed. So there's so many ways, you're right, that you can look at this. But you think about what it costs to even get a good advertising person in your company annually. We're talking anywhere between $70,000 to $100,000 probably for a really good advertising professional that only works on your brand. What do agencies cost? And you're getting a whole team. So those are just some of the things that I think we think about, we do. We talked about e-commerce expander, and like international is a big part of what we're doing. Just like the aggregators that are buying brands and being like, okay, what can we fix up? I've been doing that for years. Right. We just didn't have private equity behind us, but that's exactly what we're doing as well. You come into a company where the levers we can pull, where is the opportunity? Is it Australia? Is it the UK? I've launched in 13 Amazon different marketplaces. So we're pretty international in regards to some of the things we've tried. And for a lot of brands, it's been a lifeline to growth. So the brands that were already launched and doing their thing are expanding, and when the pandemic hit, like, unfortunate event, but like, dear God, the ones that had already set themselves up for success crushed it, right? Because they were set up with FBM, or they were set up selling in Australia where they've been in lockdown, or any number of those things. So it's really really struggled with it before I got as much business acumen, I think, in regards to identifying my customer, because there's just so many different stages of the Amazon journey, and like the customers are so different, as far as from an Amazon seller, a private label seller, or a wholesaler, or distributor, or the manufacturer, or the brand, or a company that comes in with 6 brands, or their company could understand what all the terminology means, or their personnel might not. Are we educating them, or are we just running with the ship? And so it was really hard for me as I started dialing in who I want to attract, and the brands we want to work with. Like, how do I put that into messaging? How do I convey that? How do I, really communicate what we solve for? And I think that that's, that's just the truth of where it is like there's so many different areas where you can come into this e-commerce journey.
And I think, yeah, I mean, that's really, really good. I think, some of the key things you picked out there, the whole international expansion. Obviously, that's what we focus on. People coming to Europe. That piece is, I think a lifeline for some of those sellers where they're then expanding. I loved what you said there about that, because I think that's so important that when people are thinking about growing and expanding their business, that there's so many Amazon markets that are available to you, essentially the click of a button.
Right.
It's just about going through the process and the system to making sure that's right. If any, quick plug, obviously, if anyone needs the 7-step guide, make to easy expansion to Europe, go and grab that from our website. But I think that's really, really key, is that those steps, to expansion are actually really quite easy. And I think, as you say, with all those aggregators coming in now, the aggregator piece is really interesting, because they're all buying these businesses and they're like, what we're going to do? We better expand them to Europe. Andy, can you help with that? Because they're slowly there. Actually, right, you guys can do it all. Wicked, crack on. Like, it just makes life, that whole all under one roof thing makes it really, really key. So let's move on from there, and let's just talk about how you see the next year panning out. We're moving into 2022. We've just talked about aggregators. There's going to be a big theme around that for a little while, until some of them start, disappearing, probably
eating each other. Yeah.
Yep. So that's obviously going to be a thing somewhere along the line. But outside of that, what do you see, or how do you include in that? Whatever, where do you see the next year going as an e-commerce seller? What do you really see as the key things that people need to be aware of, things people need to be seeing?
Well, I think one thing is going to be that 2021 doesn't look like 2020 for a lot of companies.
Yep.
And those expectations will finally get in line, because right now, a lot of brands and sellers are comparing this year to last year, and it's just not comparison. No. It's silly to do that. So I think one thing is that there's going to be new benchmarks, which for me is good because it's more realistic. We saw the effects of the logistics and a pandemic on our economy, and nothing that happens today, you feel it today. Like, it's stuff you feel down the line, So I think adjustments are going to be made. Brick and mortar will have some advantages as things come back online, because they're going to keep prices even lower, I guess, with inflation, at least here in the US, than a lot of the e-commerce companies that have to adjust for logistics and things like that. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a move there. I think we're going to see a move to Latin America a lot. I know we're pushing UK, and I believe that will be there, because the English speaking countries are going to be the first that novices or amateurs go to, as far as, like, I don't know if that's the right word, but
but why wouldn't they? I mean, it just makes sense, doesn't it? Go, start with the English speaking countries if you're already speaking English. I mean, like, let's not make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Right. And I think that where people will start that haven't done it before. And then Latin America, is a bigger challenge, because everything's getting translated to Spanish. But as far as getting like service providers in Latin America, meaning like VAs, meaning people that are understanding Amazon, and then Brazil and Mexican markets, like those opening up, I think are going to be big opportunities for the US, because we don't have to cross an ocean, right? So
no, it's already there.
It's already there. So I think those are going to open up really big. I think a few countries that are behind where we are going to catch up a little bit. So even like the UK and Italy and countries in Europe, I don't think you guys are far behind us, and you're ahead of us in a lot of other areas. But e-commerce seems to be a little bit behind. I think that's going to speed up as you guys start shaking it out as well there in the next year. And I think that there will be less competition in some ways in regards to just like tiny little sellers everywhere. I think that those are going to start to just go away, and it's going to be more of a sophisticated game that we're playing. And that's what we're playing. I believe we're playing a game, when it comes to optimizing algorithms and, getting products seen on a digital shelf. Like, we're hustling out here. And I think it's going to be more of a sophisticated game. It's going to be the experts kind of against the experts, and less of the guy that doesn't know blackjack sitting down at the table to play, if that makes sense. It's just the harder barrier to entry.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think some of that logistics piece you were talking about there, you know, uh, some sellers have just been walloped by it. There's no doubt about that. The fact of container prices being $2,000 and now being $20,000 is just bonkers. Like, the reason we set up our own shipping was because we needed to solve that problem and try and reduce the cost for sellers, because it's just crazy. Like, you just can't. You want to make, our whole aim is to make it as affordable and as easy as possible to make Europe attractive. And when you start shipping containers and start including VAT and all these other little nuances, when it's easier perhaps to go to, South America, we've got some challenges on our hand. We want to compete with that. We want to be saying, come to us.
Not even just pricing, but like, we've got 65 billion in the bay. I mean, around the country right now, just waiting on boats to come in. So it's not even just the prices; it's actual just accessibility. This is like non-related, but I put a down payment on a radio receiver for my Jeep, and was waiting 9 months, like with a down payment on a receiver for my Jeep. I still didn't get it. I literally said I'm going somewhere else. They can't get chips. They can't get chips for the receiver. So I think we're still going to see some of that backlash, and it's really just coming down to, I need to be able to get the product. I need to be able to, just get access to it, not just the pricing. And then adjustments take a while. So I think a lot of people are going to they're going to look at this year as the accounting comes back and they reconcile the year and really look at it and be like, we need to make adjustments. It's going to shift. Another thing is PPC. I think these aggregators are dumping billions and millions of dollars into PPC. Operationally, there's articles on it, but it's also just assumptions. You have, different levels of teams and skills coming in and taking over businesses. Like, I'm a professional and we take over account management for companies as part of our job. And it's hard. It's a difficult time to transition from one team to another, even if you're the best. So, I think that's what we're seeing this year with aggregators too. And then the way that they're offsetting some of that decline is with just like throwing dollars at PPC. So it's making it, a pretty difficult year all around. I think right now it's ride the wave, and next year, hopefully a lot of the work that's been done this year for the smaller e-commerce sellers that are trying to get their branding together and their storytelling and really just like, be able to get some roots in the ground pays off for them.
Yeah, totally. I love that. So, look, Andrew, we've run slightly over, but I think that's been all amazing. So I've kept that running because, it's great to hear all of those things you've had to say. I think some key bits in there that people can take away. Now, if people want to get in contact with you, they want to hear more about you, they want to perhaps speak to you, how do people go about doing that?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Marknology, Andrew Morgans. I'm a pretty unique name too, as well, as far as the S on the end of Morgan. So if you search me, a lot of my stuff should come up. Personally, I'm on Instagram a lot at Andrew Morgans. But LinkedIn, Marknology.com. I'm a host on Startup Hustle, the podcast. I drop episodes every Tuesday covering all things e-commerce, Amazon related. I'm part of the Ecom Cooperative. I think that's where me and Andy actually connected. So reachable there. Yeah, I would love to hear from anyone on any channel, honestly.
Wonderful. Well, look, thank you very much. Look, and my light's just gone out there. Look at that. So they're just running in to turn the light on because we're on a sensor. There we go. Look at that. As if by magic. Well, look, that's been a really, really amazing podcast from us today from the e-commerce expander secrets. It's been great to get to know your story, Andrew, hear a bit about how you got into it. I love how you got with the brand name. I think that just makes perfect sense. As soon as I heard that, you started talking about it, I was like, I get it now. That just makes perfect sense. I love that and that whole story. So thank you very much for your time. It's amazing having you on. For those people that are listening, want more information from Andrew, then please get in contact with him. Marknology.com. Really, really simple, really straightforward. If you want more help expanding to Europe, you need those. You need solutions. You need questions answered. Global e-commerce experts. We're here to support that. We're here to successfully expand e-commerce brands into Europe, and we do everything from your logistics to your compliance to your account management, whatever that needs to be in Europe. We're here to support you, we're here to guide you, and we're here to make your expansion a success. And that's the critical piece. Andrew, thank you for your time. Thank you very much for everyone listening, and we'll see you on the next episode real soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.